Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Brodo Fantasy Football Podcast presented by BrodoFantasy.com and the Fantasy Football by Brodo app, the only tool you need to dominate fantasy football.
You gotta like, you gotta share, you gotta subscribe, download that app. It's always free. Go over to wherever those YouTube things are and click that bell. Stay up to date with them noties. How's it going, guys? Week 8, CrunchTime Live, joined with my boys, Nick and Themi, having a great time. Happy Halloween to all those that like to get their candies and celebrate. I am the Fantasy Football Owl, telling you who to start and who to sit. We're going to get right into it with some player notes and some news, but I do have a homeboy in the chat already kicking it with us, as he always does. Wherever that is, comments there, we'll get to it. Tom Brady, Stan, #GOAT. Good morning, gentlemen. Happy Sunday. Always the first one in here. We love to see it, brother. He's got his first question of the day. Dameon Pierce versus Carolina, Javonte Williams versus Kansas City, or Darrell Henderson versus Dallas. Keep in mind he has Cooper Kupp too. I think this one, I mean, I've been a big Javonte proprietor this entire season, and it hasn't really come to fruition yet. But he was highlighted in my buy low, sell high article this week as a buy low. I do think that everything's trending in the right direction for him. He was always kind of a second season half stash. With that said, Kansas City defense is pretty nasty right now. I mean, I don't want Darrell Henderson against Dallas, and Dameon Pierce versus Carolina feels just gross, but I think Dameon Pierce might actually be the answer here.
Yeah, I would have gone Dameon Pierce as well. I will go Dameon Pierce as well. I love Javonte. I'm on that wagon as well, but against the Kansas City defense, it's just not something that I want to mess with right now. He had a really good week last week, signs of life. Maybe this is where he turns the corner, but I would rather put him in my lineup next week and let him turn the corner than take that shot this week, especially with such a plus matchup for Dameon Pierce. I mean, they're all kind of in the same boat. Right now, it feels like, and like you said, I don't like Henderson versus Dallas. I think it's a bit of a trap over there. So I would go Dameon Pierce on this one as well.
That's where I'm leaning as well. Javonte probably offers a decent floor, to be honest, just from receiving. And there's reports that this game's supposed to have terrible snow. Some people are saying it's overblown, that most of it happened, at night. Matt the weatherman, Matt FF Dynasty. Not this Matt. We have another Dynasty Don with us today. But his weather reports on Twitter are very good. Dameon Pierce has a plus matchup. Panthers are like bottom 3 against the run. I think if there was a week to try to get Dameon Pierce going, it's both teams are post bye, but Texans are post bye as well. I'd rather take the shot on Pierce. If he even gets like 5 points for your fantasy team, like. That's a half decent floor for someone who's probably your RB2, maybe a flex.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're all in conjuncture there. Our boy Gianluca Martini stepping in saying, "What's up, boys? First thing in the morning. Much love to you. You got a question coming. We'll get to it, G. But first, we got Mitchell with start one, a very similar Javonte, Rashee Rice, or Hollywood. And hopefully Mitchell is paying attention to the content that we've have coming out, because Rice has been a hot name in every single article we've dropped this week, trending in the right direction with linear usage, productions coming along with it, becoming #1 in snaps and routes run for Kansas City, first in targets for the wide receiver group. Obviously, Kelsey's still going to be there. But with that said, is it enough to start him over Hollywood against what is obviously like traditionally a very tough defense, but a defense that has a little bit of susceptibility? And Josh Dobbs will get the start over Kyler Murray, who was removed from injury report. But I still think for me, I'm leaning Hollywood here in a PPR format.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Rice has been trending upward, and he's been playing pretty well. Obviously, the best wide receiver in that room right now. But just being in Kansas City is going to bring volatility. And I mean, it is a good matchup for him. But yeah, I don't think I really considered Javonte, which sounds crazy. I never would have thought I would have been saying start Rashee Rice over Javonte if it came down to it. But in this matchup specifically, if I had to pick between one, I'd probably take Rice, honestly, and chase that upside. But yeah, I think Hollywood here, just based on stability. and I would hope that in, you know, a decent matchup, he can provide a solid floor, and we know Hollywood also has a ceiling as well. So I would probably go Hollywood here as well.
Yeah, it's really tough because you look at Rashee Rice's game logs and you look at Hollywood Brown's game logs, and aside from the target numbers being pretty wildly different, they're not all that far off from each other in terms of production. You know, obviously it's still very early in the season. The quarterback play is wildly different, and but it's like very low kind of yardage relative to what we expect for someone like Hollywood Brown, and then like a random touchdown here and there. But man, I'd rather bank on like the guy like Hollywood Brown, who's going to have the more targets. And Baltimore's not that bad of a matchup. Like, they're a great defense. Don't get me wrong. But when you look at true matchup rank, okay, Baltimore for wide receivers is 17th. Denver's 18th. It's not that Rashee Rice can't have like a 30-point game. He absolutely can. I don't care if like Tyreek Hill was still there. We've seen Chiefs wide receivers just go off no matter, you know, who they're competing with. But yeah, I'm really not trusting this. The spread is still very high in Kansas City's favor. So although they're probably going to be scoring a lot, even if the snow is bad, they'll probably get a lot done on the ground as well. And man, Josh Dobbs is going to have to be thrown to and playing from behind in this game. So I'd rather get Hollywood.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be in agreement there for differing but similar reasons. You know, the process might be a little different, but I think we're all assuming the same result there. G with his first question, always in this standard league that bothers the heck out of me, but Olave, Drake London, Rashee Rice, Gas Edwards. I'm thinking he means Gus, obviously, but that's such a sick nickname. Gas Edwards, need one wide receiver and one flex standard. Nothing but gas. And he will add in that his gut's telling him Olave and Edwards. My gut's definitely leaning Olave in this as well. When we're talking about standard, it's just yardage totals, right? As Themi alluded in the previous one, who I will pass it off again to, but Rashee Rice, kind of low yardage total, a PPR sort of guy, kind of getting that 5-6 receptions for 59 yards, throwing that touchdown in there. I do think Olave has the highest yardage ceiling of all these guys.
That's interesting. I would go with Drake London in terms of pure yardage. Facing the Tennessee Titans, you know, notably great against the run, terrible against the pass. Desmond Ridder does get kind of flustered when you stop his run game because he's not like all that great of a passer, at least at the moment. Last week against the Bucs, he was getting off like big chunk plays, which was a little bit surprising because they have a pretty solid defense. But man, just in terms of standard, it's such a hard decision to make because it's like Olave is a great player. There's no denying that, and like you don't want to bench him. Why would you want to bench a guy who's probably your second round pick? But I think Gus Edwards is like the flex here in standard. You know, they're like 9.5-point favorites. They're versing one of the worst defenses in the league. You know, it's just like too good to be true. I know that the Ravens can kind of like mix up who's getting those like big yardage on the ground, but I'd rather go Gus Edwards and Drake London. But I do agree, Olave is another very good play. I just slightly lean Drake London over Olave.
Yeah, and I
think we're you and I at least are both going to lean.
You're good.
Go ahead.
You're good.
Oh, I think you and I are both going to lean Edwards here, but the differing is Olave and London. So, Bick, how you feeling?
I'm gonna go Olave. I just can't. I can't bench Chris Olave. I can't do it.
It's fair. That's fair.
For what it's worth, I think I would go Gus Edwards as well. It feels like, so what I was saying before is that like every week there's a situation like this, and it's like it's a good situation to be in because I think Olave, London, and Edwards, like I think they're all going to produce. So it's just kind of like trying to guess who produces more, and it's kind of like a crapshoot in my opinion. I'm baking on Olave to. There's been so much negative tones with Olave, with the speeding shit, with him giving up on routes, with him and Carr not being on the same page, whatever the fuck it might be. I just think Chris Olave is too good of a player to stay down the way he's been, and we know what his fucking air yards are every single week. And I know air yards are kind of bullshit because if they're unrealized, they don't mean anything. But eventually because of the caliber of player Olave is, and as him and Carr both get healthier and both get a little bit on the same page, I think they're going to start to connect, and I'm willing to take that gamble. I'm taking that gamble this week personally against Indy.
At me as well. Dominique, another regular of the show. Happy to see you in here as always, my friend. Good morning, fellas. Good to see you again as well. Madison, Gibbs, Nico Collison. I combined the two. Nico Collins or Jordan Addison, half PPR. He's got to start two of them. I think Gibbs, seeing what we saw last week, knowing Montgomery is out, I think Gibbs is kind of a must start in this position, especially half PPR. You're going to get like, he's got great reception ceiling, a similar reception ceiling to both of those receivers as well. The other I'll leave to you guys, but Gibbs is my must start while I think about it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna second that. Reading this for me, it was Gibbs. I think I'm leading Jordan Addison. And it's a coin flip.
I'm leaning Addison, Gibbs as well here.
Yeah, for me it's a bit of a coin flip.
I will say Tank Dell being back kind of makes me a little more lukewarm on Nico Collins' ceiling.
Yeah, but Robert Woods is also out, so I feel like it kind of not like Robert Woods is like some world beater, but you know, it moves targets around a little bit,
kind of
just as it
vacated routes at least.
Yeah. I mean, the Packers have been beatable. And you know, I see a lot of people on Nico Collins and Tank Dell this week because of their yards per route run versus zone and or two high versus one high, whatever it is. And like, basically this is supposed to be a good matchup for them, but all year Carolina really hasn't been a good matchup because teams are they're seemingly not having to pass very much against Carolina. And when they are, it's not exactly productive. So people are making this narrative that this is some good matchup for Nico Collins and Tank Dell. And quite frankly, I'm a bit hesitant. And so I'm leaning Addison. I mean, after last week, how do you bench Addison? You know, like after the entire season for that matter, like he's just been balling every single week besides his goose egg. So I'm going to go Addison. And, you know, when you have too many riches, this is the problem you run into. So I'm going Addison and Gibbs.
I think that's where I'm leaning as well. I was trying to justify Nico Collins over Jordan Addison. But you look at the Carolina Panthers against wide receivers, 28th in true matchup rank. And that's sort of like the previous Houston Texans effect, which I think, Nick, you were talking about, where you just like run all over them. So like you really don't need to pass. And then you look at, Green Bay. Okay, they're 12th. Pretty bad against the pass. And I'm looking at the DVOA right now, and thankfully they break it down by like wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Green Bay 29th, so they're like the 4th best matchup against for wide receiver ones. Carolina just slightly below them. So obviously these are two good matchups. Like you can beat them very easily. Mm-hmm. Obviously, true matchup rank shows us more in terms of a fantasy aspect what we're looking for, because beating someone once for 30 yards versus putting up like 300 yards against them, different things. Sure. But I do think, like you guys said, Gibbs is like the cornerstone here. I would not bench him. And I'll probably go with Addison, red hot, clearly the wide receiver 1. Like KJ Osborne is basically like a non-factor at this point, which is really unfortunate because I really like him. What's funny is we're going to go Gibbs and Addison, and then like Madison's going to catch 2 passes for like 2 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then just do nothing for the rest of the game. But, I wouldn't bank on that. So yeah, I'll go Gibbs and Addison as well.
I mean, I will say, I will say before we hop into the next one, which is actually just how much they love the owl costume. Appreciate you. You need to know who to start. Come to me. I will say Cam Akers did see like 98% of second half snaps in that game. So I'm a little bit concerned about where that role is going moving forward. John DePinto, another regular. I love seeing all you guys in here kicking it with us every weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in and coming back. Aaron Jones, Damian Pierce, Jacoby Myers, or Drake London. It's half point PPR flex, and we can only choose one. Bick, I'll punch it to you first, brother. Let me know what you're thinking.
I'm just going Jacoby Myers, and I mean it's
me too. This one's so easy.
I hate benching Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is the type of player who needs one touch. I love those kind of players. But Jacoby Myers is just getting force fed the football, and he's being productive every single fucking week, regardless of the quarterback. He has Jimmy G back. That's his boy. I'm so in on Jacoby Myers, and I didn't think he would be the wide receiver one on the Raiders, but here we are. I mean, the guy is just—he's been an unstoppable force for some reason. So I feel like you got to. 100%
of games played with Jimmy G, he out targets Devontae, and all but one game this season without Jimmy G, which I mean, it's only a 2-game sample size, but yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go Jacoby Myers, which. Looking at preseason, I would have never said this. It's incredible how things change, but you have to adjust. That's how you stay winning in fantasy football, is the ability to adjust and make tough decisions. And I think you put Jacoby Myers in your starting lineup in this one. Yeah,
I'll be going Myers as well. I really like Drake London's matchup, but the Detroit corners have just been getting beat really badly. The 7th best matchup in true matchup rank right now. For wide receivers, it's impossible to bench him at this point, and it sounds disgusting to start him sometimes, just because the name value still kind of stays in your brain, even though he was pretty good on the Patriots. I really liked him.
I've always loved Jacoby. So
he was always that underrated guy. But yeah, I mean, I can't bench Jacoby Myers in this matchup, man. They're going to probably be playing from behind. It's another 9.5 point spread. So many big spreads here, and I like having that as a little extra piece of information just when I make decisions like this.
Yeah, we got a couple quick ones coming in with just some 1 or 2 back-to-back, either or. So we'll give some quick ones to catch up with those guys that are waiting in the chat down here. But I'm loving the love. Keep the questions coming. You guys know it's the Crunch Time guarantee. Don't go anywhere. We will answer them all. Even if we're a couple minutes behind, we'll catch up. Dan England up in here asking Logan Thomas or Hunter Henry half PPR, which is actually a very interesting one in my opinion. And I think just off everything we've seen coinciding with what Bick just said, adjust in season, I'm going to go Logan Thomas.
Hey, yo.
I would go Hunter Henry myself.
That's fair.
Just because this situation to me is just such a crapshoot that I'm just defaulting to probably the better of the 2 matchups, which would be Miami. And Tennessee has been, very strong against the tight end, and there's always a possibility that it's a product of just not playing teams that use the tight end or utilize the tight end, because the tight end is kind of a joke outside of the top. But regardless, in true matchup rank, Tennessee's 29th. And I mean, wait, hold on, this is the wrong matchup, isn't it? But I'm going Hunter Henry either way.
It's Miami for the for the Pats, if that's where or it's Commanders Eagles.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I'm probably going Hunter Henry anyway. I've trusted in Logan Thomas one too many times, and I mean, you're just trying to catch a touchdown at this point. You're not gonna get high catches, high yardage. But my apologies, I got the matchups wrong originally, but it doesn't really change my answer. I'm going Hunter Henry here, even though he's been a bit of a dud, but that's the tight end position, Yeah,
I'm going Henry as well. Dolphins are a very good matchup here. Their defense is very bad, and their offense can't always take advantage of it, as we've seen against 2 very good teams these past few weeks. Obviously, the Patriots aren't world beaters like maybe the Bills can be, like maybe the Eagles can be, but they've shown that they can still put up really big performances. They're very hit or miss team, like the biggest range of outcomes, getting shut out by the Saints and then, beating the Bills. Like it's such a weird team. But I'm playing the matchup here. I know the Eagles are actually the best tight end matchup in terms of DVOA. But yeah, I'm going Hunter Henry regardless. Another great matchup.
And then we got one from Tim Petrop, the plug himself, Jameson Williams or Jawan Jennings.
I'm almost positive Jawan Jennings is spelled incorrectly.
It's a U, I believe.
No, it 100% is. It's Tim. No, it is. It's J-U, but anyway.
I'm going J-Mo. I think I'm going Jawan Jennings. But I get it. I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just think we saw Jawan Jennings get fucking like 8 or 10 targets last week. I mean, I know in the second half, Brock Purdy was apparently playing with half a brain cell, but like, nonetheless, like with Debo being out, Jawan Jennings was the biggest beneficiary apparently because Ayuk was a dud once again in the second half. But yeah, I mean, I get the ceiling play and Jameson Williams, last week against Baltimore. Last week was the Baltimore game. Mm-hmm. Fingertips away from big points. So I totally see where you're coming from. He's just a one-trick pony, and it's my least favorite type of player. I feel like volume is going to be limited and super high volatility. I think Jawan Jennings presents a floor, and in that offense, I think anybody can have a ceiling. So for me, it's Jawan Jennings, but I totally understand. I mean, given how high of upside Jameson Williams has, I can't really fault you there, but I'm just not taking that shot myself.
It's a disgusting decision, but I'm going to go with the Madden Mobile legend Dree Archer, a.k.a. Jameson Williams, nothing but fucking gas. He had 6 targets against the Ravens, which, I mean, I think they were just throwing the ball 5,000 times, so maybe that's like a 0.01% target share. Jawan Jennings does have the better floor, but for me, it's not enough to justify not taking a shot on JMO.
Sure.
Yeah, I like it. I just like the ceiling here, and I completely agree with everything Vic said too, but I'm still going to stick with my guns. Constantine, another regular. Good morning, fellas. Would you go with Tua? Yes. Or Stroud versus Carr?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I'm not. You're not going to find a world where I'm benching Tua. So if you guys have a differing opinion, take it. And I understand, obviously, they've shut him down, showing a little bit of susceptibility against tough defenses. They don't have the best outlook against teams with stronger schedules, as a lot of their their combined opponents that they beat have a losing record, whatever it may be. There's a lot of narrative, sure, but I'm not benching Tua. And I love CJ Stroud, but
yeah, I'll go Tua.
Yeah.
Tua's floor is like Stroud's not ceiling, but like middle.
I agree. Exactly. I kind of completely agree with that. And again, we were prefacing it earlier in a previous matchup, but it kind of could be a position where the Texans don't even need to pass against Carolina to win that game outright. And yeah, G defending a standard. It's been around for a long time, and those old heads don't want to switch. I get it, brother. Najee, Foreman, Henderson chasing a big game from Gabe Davis on Thursday. So this is my plug boy, Tim again. Deontay Foreman, I would assume, is that answer. There's no other Foremans I can think of. I just feel like it was a popular name.
George.
Najee Harris, Deontay, or Darrell Henderson. Themi, since you're the resident Steelers fan, do you want to give Najee a little bit of love here?
Not really. I mean, the run game looked a lot better.
We knew what you meant, brother.
Oh, chasing means the other guy had him?
Yeah,
okay. I did not understand. I'm an idiot. So
behind. Yeah, he's playing from behind.
I think he was chasing the high of it, like oh, I'm chasing that high.
I get what you're saying.
Like he's a degenerate gambler. Listen, Najee Harris had a pretty solid game last week against a very susceptible defense. Now they face the Jaguars, who have improved tremendously, but they've always been pretty solid against the run these past couple of years. I'm not trusting him. He could be good for a touchdown, but I'm not banking on that a second week in a row. And I believe he scored last week. Or maybe Jalen Warren scored. Regardless, they both scored. That's what Deontay Johnson got caught at like the 7 or 10 or something. Man, it's just not a high enough ceiling for me, even when he does score. And this is not a matchup I really like. I I'm really not high on Najee this week, to be honest.
Yeah, so I mean, Deontay Foreman was somebody I'm trying to kind of pivot off of and sell. Just we're not going to see another 3-touchdown game from him, but I do still think there's a lot of positive upside here. Like Roschon Johnson has been in concussion protocol since week 5 of Thursday Night Football. Like that is not good news. And like honestly, thoughts and prayers out to the kid. I hope he makes a full recovery and stuff. But like there's clear reasons that he's not clearing that protocol, and that's not a good thing. And it's not a good thing for his first game back either. You're talking about a rookie that has had very limited run and experience to be able to develop in the first place with his touches. So I still like Deontay Foreman in this matchup. I'm so low on Najee that I do think that there's a justifiable reason to put him ahead. Again, that opportunity share split with Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren's not been as exciting either, but I'm probably leaning Deontay Foreman just slightly, but you're in a similar position with all. So if you want to play that ceiling, like you're chasing the upside, I think Foreman probably presents the most upside with a 22 touch, outing.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even think this question was difficult. I was gonna go Deontay Foreman the entire time. It's the best matchup by far. And he's riding such high momentum now that he's been the guy that, I don't sorry. Before when Khalil Herbert went down, people thought it was gonna be the Roschon Johnson show, and they got to feed the hot hand, and I don't see how that's not Deontay Foreman. I think it could be a 75-25 split this week. I have to start Roschon Johnson. I'm not happy about it, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, but if he's getting 75% of the work or even 60%, which I think is the lowest possible for that situation, I still think they're very valuable touches, and he's shown that when he has the ball in his hands, he can be good. So I'm avoiding Henderson and Najee because of the splits and the matchups, basically. And this is the best matchup. And honestly, he's shown that he's a baller. So, I thought it was easy. I'm going Foreman.
Jerome Ford or Jerry Jeudy from Tim again. I think he's got one more after that with Tutu Atwell or Jawan Jennings. I want to speed it up and get through Tim's because we got Fabian waiting, we got Daniel waiting, we got a big Santiago's up in here. What's up, Cass? So Tim's got Jerome Ford or Jerry Jeudy, and then back again with Tutu Atwell or Jawan Jennings. I will take Jawan in this situation over Tutu Atwell. And I think with Jerome Ford coming off that ankle injury and being limited in practice the entire time, I think I'm going to lean Jerry Jeudy, and neither one of them are exciting to me.
I would go Jawan Jennings as well, because I still think he's better play than Jameson Williams. And I'm going to go Jerome Ford, actually, just because starting Jerry Jeudy makes me fucking sick every single week. I don't care if he's playing on one ankle. That Broncos situation is a fucking mess. The last time he played Kansas City, he got absolutely shut down. I think that was the Steve Smith game. I just don't think we're ever gonna see Jerry Jeudy do what I wanted him to do when he's on the Broncos. And I get the concern with Jerome Ford. I totally understand it, and he could be active and get fucking 2 touches. Like I totally get it. But I mean, I'm biased answering this question, so maybe it shouldn't matter what I think about this one. But I do think Jawan Jennings is obviously the answer for the other one. But you guys can discuss Jerry Jeudy and Jerome Ford if you would like.
Well, I'm going Jawan Jennings as well for the second question. If Jerome Ford plays, I'm starting him. I think they want to take a look at him in pregame warmups. That's what they announced. He still gets touches. I know Kareem Hunt's been involved a lot more these past 2 weeks. But regardless, Jerome Ford gets a decent workload in the passing game, actually more so than Kareem Hunt for now. And he still gets, he's good for at least double-digit carries, it seems. Seahawks are a very good matchup. PJ Walker is not playing well despite what the box scores may indicate. So it could be a really terrible game for him despite the good matchup. But I will still go Jerome Ford.
Excellent. Need to choose a wide receiver 2 in a flex for full PPR. Ridley, Zay Flowers, London, Jacoby Myers, or Derrick Henry in his flex. Fabian would also like us to know that he has Ramondre and Kamara starting as RB2. So I guess that question would also come as start.
This team is insane.
The guy's playing in a 3-team league.
This
is insane.
I would say Jacoby Myers in that flex spot, but if you guys want to sway me into a Zay Flowers or a Drake London, go ahead. Obviously, I don't think Calvin Ridley is the answer, which will bleed into a question that we have a little bit down there. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring you. I will get to that. Thoughts on Christian Kirk and you as well, Joe Buck. So let's get this popping, boys. Choose two. One is going to be Jacoby Myers for me. Two, I think it's between Zay Flowers and Drake London. So I'll let you boys decide. Kick it off.
Themi, you can attack this one because I know you like London. So I'm just curious to hear what you think regarding the other guys on the board.
It's tough because I do want to go Jacoby Myers and Drake London. I think we're all going to be pretty much in agreement that Jacoby Myers is sort of like a must start in this situation, or at least one of, borderline must start. I'm trying to justify Drake London over Derrick Henry. It's full PPR. Derrick Henry starting to get going again. He's had 2 big games in the past 3 weeks. I think they're coming off a bye, I believe. They're facing the Falcons, who are a very good run defense. Arthur Smith is his, Mike Vrabel's understudy, his protege. So I don't know. Maybe there's going to be some kind of mind games going on where they use Derrick Henry to kick field goals or something. I don't know. But I'm going to go with Drake London. He has the better matchup in this game that they're both in. I'm attacking the Falcons' defense, their pass defense. I'm going Jacoby Myers, Drake London.
Yeah, that's cool. Once again, it's
wrong.
No. I'm saying this is one of those teams. This is the epitome of one of those teams where it's all of these guys are in situations to produce, and trying to pick the right one is who fucking. I think Jacoby Myers, as we've talked about multiple times today now, has to be the starter for sure. He's the lock, and yeah, I mean, I'm okay with Drake London. I like the volume that Zay Flowers has. The word on the street is that Pittsburgh is apparently a decent matchup for the outside receiver. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they say. So it's kind of pick your poison at this point. And Derrick Henry's fucking Derrick Henry. He can go for 203 touchdowns anytime he wants. So I'm probably going Jacoby Myers and Drake London just because you're so sold on it. So, and I trust your opinion. So I'll vouch for that.
Dan England up in here with his next one. Terry McLaurin, Gus Edwards, or Alexander Madison. That's half PPR. Terry McLaurin against the Philadelphia Eagles defense is where I'm going to go pretty heavily here. I also have Jahan Dotson as a high upside sleeper. So I think Terry McLaurin is pretty obvious of a team that's going to be playing from behind against a bottom ranked secondary.
Yeah. I'm going Terry here. My best friend actually texted me and said she also will go Jacoby Myers on that last one for sure. So we're locking in Jacoby Myers everywhere. But yeah, I'm going Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I think in half PPR you have to go with the wide receiver. He had 8 catches for 86 yards against them last time. It seems like they just produce when they verse the Eagles. It's really stupid and annoying, but for fantasy, it's fine.
Yeah. Jay Bowick, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lawrence or Love, PPR. Also pick 2 running backs for my boy Hunt, Roshan Johnson, or Warren. Jalen Warren and Kareem Hunt's going to be my answer there. I would at least like to see Roshan Johnson play a healthy game before I trust his head being in the game. No pun intended, with his unfortunate injury designation. Lawrence or Love PPR, I still think I'm going to lean pretty heavily towards Trevor Lawrence. I think there's a major argument to be made that offense has yet to reach its full potential as far as the passing offense is concerned. It's a more difficult matchup on paper than they've had in the past few weeks as far as, putting up points. But I still like the Jags this week. I like Lawrence this week as well.
Yep, I'm gonna go Lawrence. Everybody and their mother is seemingly fading Jordan Love. I would like to note, I think I'm streaming him somewhere, and I really don't feel that bad about it. I know it's been a little bit of garbage time and catch up and shit like that, but it still results in fantasy points, so who gives a shit? And Minnesota is not that scary to me. So I don't think it's that bad. Just in case anyone else is considering Jordan Love, I don't think it's that bad of a streamer, but I am going Lawrence. He was officially just listed as active moments ago, so we know he's playing this week. Not like it was really concerned, but you never know. Anything's possible. And then with the running backs, I would go Hunt for sure. I think I'm going Roshan Johnson, just because Jalen Warren. he's going to get that receiving floor. But without a touchdown, I don't know where his ceiling is. And Roschon Johnson, in a plus matchup, we don't know how we're going to use it. I know I said earlier, I think it's probably going to be leaning heavily in Dante Foreman's favor, but I could also be wrong. So yeah, I'm going to go Hunt and Roschon here.
I really want Trevor Lawrence to throw like 5 interceptions, but that's just because I'm a Steelers fan. It is a pretty tough matchup when you look at it. The Steelers actually are 7th in passing DVOA on defense. I really don't understand how. Like, maybe it's because Cooper Kupp dropped like 17 passes in a row last week, despite Puka Nacua going off. But I have to imagine Trevor Lawrence is going to be at least passable. Jordan Love looks good and just has been like struggling despite that. Just like not being able to get the offense down the field when it seems like he should be able to.
I would beg to differ that he looks good. I don't think he looks good at all.
For like the past 5 weeks compared to the first 2 weeks, like where he was throwing 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, like I don't think he's like that far off in terms of how he's looked in those games. But okay, maybe he's not. Maybe he doesn't look good. He looks fine for maybe his perception.
He looks 56% completion percentage, 86% or 86 quarterback rating, and 9 interceptions in the last 4 games. Good, but
yeah, it doesn't
let's
help
hop over
picks
to
against the Raiders.
Casanova, who also is loving the costumes, loving the get up. He wants to know Addison or Olave on full PPR. That's a very, very tough decision for me. I'll drop it into the bucket of Saints fandom and lean slightly to Olave, but I think the Packers are a beatable defense. I'm just a little bit worried about Addison actually getting that Jair coverage after what he did last week. I don't think he's going to get easy coverage matchups moving forward.
I'm going Addison.
That's where I'm going as well.
I love it. Themi, tiebreaker. Give us a little bit of an explanation.
I mean, I think it really does come down to the Packers defense and the fact that Addison is like the wide receiver 1 on the team. I know TJ Hawkinson is going to take, some targets. He's going to earn them. But it's like weird. Michael Thomas is like strangely in the mix. And yet I've seen 0 people mention his name ever this season. He's been playing. I think he's listed as questionable, maybe like a little, in doubt for play.
He's active. He's active.
He's active. Yeah. Okay. And it's not that I think that Michael Thomas alone makes Olave like a sit here. I just think that Addison being like funneled the ball in that way is just slightly better. He's very hot. I want to ride it. Well, not like that, ayo. But I think the matchups are going to continue to be good, and I think Addison is a very good matchup here. So I'd rather just play him right now.
I feel you, brother. No, I'll take my fandom to the backseat and let you 2 win that one. Constantine in here. Pick 2 in standard. Zeke DiMercado or Josh Palmer. I'm thinking of dropping Mike Wilson or Pierre Strong to pick up Mooney in case Palmer can't go tonight. Thoughts on that? I mean, if you're in the need of a wide receiver, like you don't have any pivots past that point, I almost would probably just keep Michael Wilson over Mooney. I mean, that might be a little bit of a hot take, but I obviously like if you're just desperate for that wide receiver point spot in standard. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate on Mike Wilson over Darnell Mooney rest of season. But main question: Zeke DiMercado or Josh Palmer? I do think it's Josh Palmer even in a standard league. You're talking about just yardage totals. I think probably Josh.
Yeah, I don't know if he goes tonight, which is why he's saying that he's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's the vacuum. Like, I mean, it's hard to push it because it is the like later slate, right? So it's hard to push. I mean, you can make the argument that DiMercado should just be put in there for the floor of points that he could provide, but it's like we have a 2-week sample size or whatever. 1 week very good, 1 week very bad.
Yeah. Shit, this situation sucks.
I don't see why you can't just drop Pierre Strong and pick up Darnell Mooney just in case. I'd rather, like Matt said, like I wouldn't drop Michael Wilson at this point. He has like half the targets, maybe less than half the targets of Hollywood Brown, and he's like 40 yards behind him. Very big play guy. He's probably due for some regression, but in a standard league, I don't really care about receptions. I care about yardage. I mean, you got to catch the ball to get the yards, but I would go DiMercado and Josh Palmer, and then I would drop Pierre Strong and pick up Darnell Mooney just in case. But I don't know if you're really going to get any points out of Darnell Mooney. That's my decision.
I mean, you can make an argument for Michael Wilson too. It's tough. Our boy Big Will up in here. Good morning, gentlemen, from my U.S. postal vehicle on a Sunday. Let's have a great day. Great days as always when you're in the chat, brother. I hope you stick around. Hope you get off work early, get to watch some of the games today. I'm confused at this X multi, so I want you to hop back in if you're still around. Sorry it took so long to get to it, but how to log in with another device to my team, and then he says ESPN Fantasy, by the way, to my last question. So how do you log in with another device? I mean, remember your password?
I don't know.
I think it asks you. I think it asks you for a code, like when you log into a new device, because it's like a security thing. So if you don't know your email,
So
like if you don't have access to your email, you're screwed basically. But check your email for that code. I think. I really don't know because I've logged into other devices for ESPN, and I think I just needed to, sign in regularly and then add that security code.
Just
if having another problem. I have literally no idea.
Because I have it auto logged in on my laptop, but all questions welcome. So if you're still around X Multi, kick us back with a little bit more information. We'll try to walk you through that before we get off. Pause. Thoughts on Christian Kirk this week? My thoughts on Christian Kirk are pretty good every week after he's shown us what he can do. Again, the Steelers defense, not necessarily the greatest matchup on paper, it would suggest, but I also still think that you kind of have to follow the money and follow where the targets are being funneled. And Christian Kirk is clearly their wide receiver one.
Yeah. My thoughts on Christian Kirk are good. He's good.
Positive,
he's a good football player.
It's going to be hard to find a tier of players to bench below him. So if you have to start sitting with Christian Kirk, John, make sure you drop that in there. Half PPR flex for Big Will. Pick one between Elijah Moore, Roshan Johnson, Jamison Williams, Michael Wilson, Treylon Burks, or Zach Charbonnet.
I'm going to go Roshan.
Yeah, J-Mo, Elijah Moore, Roshan. I'm still very hesitant on Roshan post concussion, but half PPR flex. I'm not necessarily going Michael Wilson, Treylon Burks, or Charbonnet. That's for sure. J-Mo's got that ceiling, but even in half PPR, you got to think that you're reducing it even that ceiling a little bit more. Not that he's used as a low target or a low depth of target guy. I'm not mad at Roshan. Here.
This week I dropped Elijah Moore everywhere. I'm throwing in the towel on that project. So
I think that's sound advice. Time probably to do that.
Yeah. And with Roshan, I get your concern, but concussion traditionally does not have much of a usage dip when players come back. So I'll take the data on that one and hope he can make some plays, I guess.
What do you think, Themi?
I'd rather just quit the league at this point. No, I'm surprised no one's entertaining Treylon Burks. Coming back from injury. I think
not with a little Will Levis under center.
Is it confirmed that Ryan Tannehill is not playing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Will Levis is named the starter over.
And they're going to rotate. Yeah. They're going to rotate,
much like they used to do with Montana and Steve Young.
Yeah, I remember those days when I was negative 5 years old.
The exact type of talent that they have in Tennessee right now. That would justify such a wild decision. But I think
you got to go with the home run play. Yeah, well, I was going to go with one of the wide receivers, to be honest, but I don't think Roshan Johnson's that terrible of a play.
No.
I just don't really like the Bears. But
Jordan, morning, afternoon, boys. Full PPR, RB2 between Javonte Williams, Alexander, Madison, or Chuba Hubbard. Denver weather says play Williams, but Kansas City D has been great. Indeed, it has. It's been top 15 in all positions of true matchup rank, 29th overall to running backs, low to quarterbacks, holding teams to, under 20 points per game total, not just offense, but offense and defense combined, obviously. So yeah, Kansas City's defense and special teams have been great this season. I actually think there is a viable decision to start Javonte Williams as well in full PPR. Madison losing work to Cam Akers. I don't know if that continues, but it doesn't look great moving forward. And Miles Sanders is expected to be back, but even when he was back the last two games, now you have to keep in mind that the injury was still prevalent. If the injury is not prevalent anymore, I would assume an uptick in usage. But in the last two games that Miles Sanders did play, he was behind Chuba Hubbard in snaps and touches.
For me, it's just not Madison. That's the bottom line. I mean, if this were my team if this were my team, I would be starting Javonte Williams. But to give advice to somebody else, I think given the matchup and the recent production and advanced stats, I mean, Chuba Hubbard has been playing really good football. So I think even in that timeshare, I probably go Chuba Hubbard. To do that over those guys just feels like a very difficult thing to actually do in your lineup. But I would go Chuba Hubbard because I don't think Miles Sanders is fully healthy. I mean, or else he wouldn't have been on the injury report all week. So
100%.
I'm gonna lean Chuba Hubbard on this one. Slight edge over Javonte Williams and pretty decent edge over Alexander Madison.
And Big Dutch, I'm glad you're still in here, man. Your question is literally up next. We are going to get to it, and we're going to keep these rapid firing. We got 15 minutes before the hour ends, but we will keep going until all the questions are answered. We're about 20 minutes behind the chat, so let's run through these as quick as we can. We got Big Dutch asking Odell, Miles Sanders, who we were just talking about, so an excellent segue. Tyler Algier or Cam Akers, start one. We were also just talking about Cam Akers and how his opportunity share trended up incredibly in that second half, essentially getting 98 to 99% of all snaps. Madison only seen on 2 plays in the second half. Odell, Miles Sanders, who has been injured. Odell did lead the team in targets. I mean, that's worth noting last week. I still think that I'm probably in this situation. I'm going to lean Odell Beckham.
Goodness gracious.
I think Algier might be the safest of all the plays, though. Like he's going to get 10K.
Tennessee's tough, though.
Very.
Yeah, I can't get comfortable starting Cam Akers. Tyler Algier, you're kind of hoping for a touchdown against Tennessee. So yeah, I'm okay with Odell, I guess. I mean, it's just because that's terrible advice. Like, I'm sorry, but I wish I wouldn't. I don't know what the fuck I would do. And on a time crunch, I would have to analyze this for fucking hours, to be honest with you. So I can vouch for Odell as well.
Yeah, I do think that there's a safety play in Odell's targets here. Knowing if it's PPR or standard would maybe switch my disposition to the upside of Cam Akers' opportunity share continuing. But I'm like I said, it's a slight lean, and it's a position that I hope these guys are kind of just flying into your flex, where you have a bit more power at top to kick you through this week. Any different thoughts, Themi?
I mean, I think for what we saw from Odell and not Miles Sanders, Tyler Algier kind of looked like, best case scenarios, maybe, or like upper echelon kind of things. I think Cam Akers has a lot more to gain this week against Green Bay. I think Odell could easily break off like a couple big chunk plays like he's done against Arizona, but I don't know. I think I'd slightly lean Cam Akers as like a home run play versus, and Algier or Odell would be like the safer guys. But like you said, it really depends if it's like standard or half PPR or full PPR. But I would go Cam Akers and hate myself just no matter who I started.
Yeah, it's tough.
At this point, Joe, I do not think that we can bench Adam Thielen for
Adam Thielen.
Options.
Yeah,
like you're literally talking about the guy that's been the wide receiver 3 in points per game over the last 5 weeks. Like, yeah, I know it's still like the name factor sinks in, kind of like we were talking about at the top of the hour. If you're here with Jacoby Myers, kind of still having that like no touchdown disappointment attached, like having Adam Thielen's old and dusty. But I mean, old and dusty getting double-digit targets in 6 out of 7 games and putting up 20 fantasy points per game over the last 4. Yeah, I mean, you just cannot bench him at this point. You can't, even in a matchup against the Texans, who are a fairly good secondary. The same arguments can be made against Deontay Johnson for certain reasons, with Kenny Pickett and George Pickens' target share increasing. Garrett Wilson obviously stuck in that offense. Tyler Lockett, yes, absolutely still going to see his 5 targets for 69 with the upside of a touchdown, but Adam Thielen has all of those things wrapped into the number 1 wide receiver role in Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah, no disagreements.
Much love. Thanks for letting me take the lead on that one, boys. Charles Kearney, can't believe that it's week 8. Or says happy week 8, everyone. Can't believe that it's come to this in week 8, but who would you flex? Calvin Ridley, Rashee Rice, Romeo Doubs, or Tank Dell?
I'm going to go Calvin Ridley.
That's a good one. Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to go Calvin Ridley. I'm going to go with what I believe to be the best talent in this case. And I know he's been frustrating, and I know he's just been letting people down week in and week out, but we also know what he can do when he's on. And like I said earlier, on paper, this could be a spot for him to bounce back. And, you know, not like he's been complaining, but, you know, when it comes like squeaky wheel stuff, like players that have down weeks, I say it every week on the show. I feel like if a player has a down week the week prior, then normally I'd feel like their quarterback will get them some love the next week. And he's too good of a player. I can't bench him. If you want to go Dell over Ridley, I'm cool with that. If you want to entertain Rice over Ridley, I can understand that too. I'm not going Romeo Dubs here, but I could see a case for Ridley, Dell, and Rice in that order of my preference. I won't knock you one way or the other, but I'm going Ridley here. I'm just taking the best player overall. We've seen what he can do, and he's just the best player on this list for me.
I will note that Calvin Ridley's probably going to face a lot more Joey Porter Jr. than he might face, Patrick Peterson, who, Christian Kirk is probably going to get. But at the same time, he is a rookie. His success has come on very limited targets. And while I would love for that to continue as a fan, he's going to be challenged this week against a very good quarterback, against a very good wide receiver who, hopefully has shaken off the rust, or at least some of it. But, I'm sure Levi Wallace will get in the mix there and, let up 5 touchdowns, to Calvin Ridley or something like that. But I agree. For me, it's really down to those 3 guys, Ridley, Rice, Dell, and I'd probably take a shot on Ridley with Dell just slightly below him.
And sorry, Big Dutch, I know you were in here kicking around and hoping that question got answered. We, just in case you're still around, or popped back in, we were in between Odell and Cam Akers. Themi kind of drove me a little bit towards that Cam Akers side as well. So we're going Cam Akers, Odell, flip a coin. Tough situation, but hope you get it done this week, man. Hope you have some power at the top there to push you through. Full PPR, Olave or Jerome Ford, Rashee Rice, Kendrick Bourne. I mean, I'm the Kendrick Bourne truther. Have been for many years now. Has always been a favorite kind of like late sleeper of mine. Didn't turn out so much last year, the year before. Great this year, obviously looking phenomenal. I'm not benching any of these guys for Olave though. Or vice versa.
Start yeah.
I'm not starting any of these guys over Olave. Yeah,
I'm going Olave here. Start your studs. I mean, that's what I mean. I know he's not playing like a stud, but I think he's due. So
I agree. I do think he's due. And we did see stud-like play during the first couple weeks. Was still putting up 17.2 points per game in the first 3, I believe, and hadn't scored a touchdown yet. So the ceiling can and is sky high for Olave when he gets it clicking. We're hoping that he takes a little bit of that Jordan Addison magical speeding ticket rub off and has an incredible game. But other than that, like I'm not, the league didn't seem too concerned about it. The team didn't seem too concerned about it. It really was just like a speeding violation, an arrest, and then a fine, completely dealt with and done and over with now, missed no practices. Hoping there's a bit of a, as Themi and Nick alluded to, like a little bit of beating that narrative of negativity or surrounding him. So I'm still going Olave for both the narrative perspective and the actual analytic perspective of him being a much better player than these other guys.
Yeah, I'm not benching Olave either. Kendrick Bourne's been a little PPR monster at times, but I'm not benching Olave.
Yeah, it's fun to watch in all honesty. I really liked Kendrick Bourne, man. Yeah. I always have. What's up, guys? Josh Downs or DK full PPR? That one's fun. Oh, that one's fun to me. I'm going Josh Downs. I am. He's Gardner Minshew's favorite target. It's been every single game that Minshew's been under center. Only time that it wasn't, it was 1 target shy from Michael Pittman's team lead. I really like Josh Downs. And then, the down game.
Yeah, I'll go. That sounds crazy, but I think I'll second that. DK already kind of underperforming a bit. That entire offense outside of Kenneth Walker is kind of underperforming, not meeting expectations from the preseason, I should say. And now they're playing Cleveland. I mean, we did just see what the Colts did to Cleveland, made them look real human, but every other game this year has been they've been so stout. They've been one of the best defenses in football, and
terrifying.
Yeah, and to that, same note, like the Saints are a good defense too, like generally. So But yeah, I'm gonna go Josh Downs, especially in full PPR. You want to hope that he keeps getting the volume he's been getting, and just hope DK doesn't have a vintage DK game on your bench. But you know, it feels risky based on preseason perception, but Josh Downs has just been playing his ass off. So yeah, like I said, I'll second that Josh Downs myself.
Yeah, it's hard to bench an immensely talented player like DK, but man, you look at his games and it's like, okay, he's gone off against like some pretty bad teams. I think he'll get back in the mix again, be fine. But I think he offers like a similar degree of upside as Josh Downs right now. And I think, like you guys are saying, you play the matchup right here. Notably PFF, if you want to take their matchups, they give Josh Downs the 9th best wide receiver matchup, I believe. Looks like it's 9th. I don't know how accurate their wide receiver cornerback matchups are, but they got Tyreek Hill number 1, so maybe that probably makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I'd rather go Josh Downs.
I will say, like, even at his peak, Metcalf's only averaging 13.5 points per game right now. That's wide receiver 24. So
yeah,
like, what are you really giving up? Because Josh Downs is giving you wide receiver 24 numbers as well.
In true matchup rank, like Cleveland is the worst matchup for wide receivers in the entire NFL. So you take an already underperforming squad with a terrible, terrible matchup. And I know he's the type of player that can beat those matchups, but when you have an option like Josh Downs with the way he's playing right now, then you kind of just got to keep rolling with it. I mean, there was a quote that Tim said multiple times back in the day, and it was like, if you're playing beer pong and you're hitting your shots, and then once you're on fire, you just keep shooting until you miss. And Josh Downs seems like you just hit 3 cups in a row when you're on fire. So I'm running him for sure.
I love that analogy, man. Isaiah Simpson in here. Morning, fellas. Good morning to you as well, my friend. Hope you're still sticking around. We got a few minutes left and a few questions to catch up on, but we're always going to go past the hour if you guys keep the questions coming. So crunch time guarantee. Please stick around in the chat. Talk amongst each other. Have a good time. Happy mornings. Full PPR got to start 3. London, Terry, DK Metcalf, and DJ Moore. I mean, Terry McLaurin, we've highlighted a few times in the episode. I hope you were listening, Isaiah. An incredible matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I have Jahan as a high upside sleeper as well in this scenario. They're going to play from behind. They're going to pass a lot, and he's been incredibly productive against that team, as has every other receiver this season.
Benching 1, essentially. I'm benching DK again. Themi sold me on London this week. Terry McLaurin, we already know, has such a good matchup against Philly, which sounds stupid, but it's the truth. And then DJ Moore against the Chargers is, it's fucking Tyler Bagent. Is that his name? Like Tyson Bagent. Yeah, I don't know his fucking name, but from what I understand, he's feeding the ball to DJ Moore. At least he did his first game. I don't know about last week, to be super transparent, but nonetheless, it's a good matchup against the Chargers, and it's DJ Moore. I mean, take a screen to the house, like he's just like DK, another one play guy, right? But DJ Moore just has more momentum right now. So
yeah, DJ Moore had 9 targets. He got 8 of them for 54 yards last week. Doesn't need to necessarily get that home run play, it seems. I mean, listen, the Raiders are not stopping wide receivers. They weren't stopping running backs either. They're not going to stop me. Okay, well, they'll stop me, but it's a little bit of a different story with the Chargers. They have a lot of talent there and just severely underperforming on defense. So I think it's another decent week to target DJ Moore despite a D2 quarterback coming in. And he's such a great story. I mean, if you saw him in the locker room afterwards, like the dude, like you want to root for him so badly. So I will bench DK Metcalf, unfortunately.
I feel like we had a very similar question, but because you're still in here, Charles, and I know you're a regular, we'll pop back in again. But who's the best option for his RB2? Javonte Williams, DeMercado, Gus Bus, or Jalen Warren? I think we settle on Gus in this one. I think.
I mean,
it was very similar, regardless. But I remember
there was a similar one. I think we were a little higher on Javonte. and that's probably why they lead in this situation.
Yeah, even against the Kansas City matchup, again, we've touched on it a few times. Like I do still believe in Javante's second half of season, but against this Kansas City matchup, I don't know if he's necessarily going to turn that corner, as Vic said, this week. Yeah,
I think it's fair to put it between Javonte and Gus because, okay, DeMarcado is probably going to have a big workload, but they have been kind of like mixing it up. Yeah, maybe not because like it was Keontae Ingram, it was Damian Williams. It's very weird, but it looks like DeMarcado is more so the guy, not guaranteed. Jaylen Warren, he's not going to get the full workload. It's a tough matchup. He is borderline startable in certain leagues as a desperation play, but I think you're looking at two guys who are going to get the majority probably of their backfield, snaps at least, and Gus Edwards and Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
Well, Gus has by far the best matchup, at least,
Yeah. If we knew DeMarcado was going to be the workhorse, I think this is a different discussion, honestly. But Javonte Williams, we saw him play the Chiefs already a couple weeks ago. He went 10 for 52. He didn't catch a ball. Obviously, he didn't score. Did have a touchdown taken back last week, I believe. So I don't think he's found the end zone yet at all this year. I don't know. It's tough. I'd probably go Javonte just because you can't expect Gus Edwards to be catching passes and you need him to score. And, it's low floor, pretty low ceiling, it feels like, for all these options, honestly. 5-point floors and 12-point ceilings. So, yeah, I'll go Javonte, yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I completely in agreement with both of you there. Morning boys from Benjamin Hare, half PPR, one of Judy, Ford, Singletary, Dotson, Brandon Cooks. I'm going to start Jahan Dotson. I'm going to go matchup based. Ford's ankle, you can start him if he's playing, sure. Jerry Jeudy, we're not high on. We don't feel good. He's given us no reasons to. Brandon Cooks, similar reason. Probably one of his only seasons where he's not going to eclipse 1,000 yards in his career when he's been essentially fully healthy. And then Devin Singletary, increasing that work a little bit. Dameon Pierce is still the guy, man. Jahan Dotson has the best matchup out of all of them. He's trending in the right direction. He's even holding field goals. They like him so much. But honestly, though, no, like he did out-target Curtis Samuel. He did put up a touchdown. He has always shown, a nose for the end zone. And I do think that they're going to be playing from behind a lot against Philadelphia and have a lot of opportunity to pass. And that's going to lead to good things for Terry McLaurin mainly. But I think there's going to be enough runoff down that drip line of production that Dotson also gets some love.
Yeah, we saw some signs of life last week with Jahan Dotson, or 5 for 43, something like that, if I remember correctly. And all of these options have such high volatility. If we knew more about Ford, I would feel better. But unfortunately, we don't. And even if he plays, it seems like it's kind of a risky play. So yeah, I can go Dotson. I don't feel happy about it. I wish I could just say put in Jerry Jeudy and don't think twice, because motherfucker's good at football. I don't care. Like, the guy gets open, he runs good routes. Like, it's just that that Broncos offense is like so inept right now. So I can vouch for Dotson. My backup would be Jerry Jeudy. And then Jerome Ford, probably.
I'm more so on Ford here. Just not necessarily because it is half PPR, but that does help a little versus full. But I don't know. I still like his workload a lot. I think he's safe. I don't know. It's hard because Dotson. I feel like Dotson really needs a touchdown to be better than Ford this week. He's good for like 5 or 6 points without a touchdown. That's the only thing. I'm
just not a will test in pregame warmups guy. Like if it's getting all the way to pregame warmups before they got to do it. And I know that's how questionable works, right? Like, you're questionable going into it, and you probably got to see how you feel the morning of. But when they make an explicit note of he's going to test out in warmups, they're optimistic he plays, but he was never supposed to play this week. He just wasn't supposed to. The timetable was miss a game, maybe 2. Like I'm just erring on the side of caution on this one. Just because, we saw him dinged up last. He had that one big run at the start of the game and then was mediocre and then got dinged up. And I don't know. I could see them using him sparingly this week because they know he's not 100%. So,
okay. I get that logic. Yeah.
Would you rather run with Komet or Hunter Henry at tight end this week for Charles?
I think I'm going Komet.
I know you guys are probably going to vote. Yeah. I mean, even with Bajan under center, I'm probably going to lean Komet as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Henry does have the better matchup.
Yeah, but it's hairs. I don't know. I don't. Once again, you're just chasing a fucking touchdown at this point. I mean, the last time we saw Hunter Henry against the Dolphins, though, week 2, which is a whole different team from week 2 because they looked like an actual fucking offense in week 2. But, as a Patriots fan, I'm watching and it's like Hunter Henry's just become basically a non-factor, it feels like. But, any given week, and the last time we saw him, I think he went 6 for 52 in a touch or something like that, or 5 for 52 in a touch. Like, he ate them up the last time they played, so I can see the appeal there, and you expect it to be a game script with which they're going to have to throw a bit more. So it's just that.
Well, now you're making me lean Hunter Henry.
I know. I mean, I'm just trying to give both sides. I don't have much for Komet, honestly. I've paid ever since Justin Fields went down. That Bears offense to me is kind of an enigma. I don't know really what to expect. And it's just chasing any sort of upside in a touchdown, and it's just flip a coin kind of. But maybe I'm convincing myself on Hunter Henry now that I'm saying it out loud. I don't know. You guys have anything on Cole Kmet at all?
I mean, he's had 3 total targets these past 2 weeks, so it's mostly with Bajanton. His big games have been coming from touchdowns, which could happen again, but I trusted that more with Justin Fields. Hunter Henry's, like you said, in a bit of a similar situation, but I think right now, this week, I would rather trust Hunter Henry to get me like 40, 50 yards, just slightly over Cole Kmet, just based on quarterback situation and a slight matchup advantage. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah. We're 7 minutes past the hour, and I got to set my lineups today too. So we've got 5 questions left before we sign off here. Let's run through them quick, boys. Palmer being questionable. Would you rather wait and see with QJ on the bench, or would you slot in a guy like Gallup or Judy? The only way that I have any interest in Quentin Johnson is if Josh Palmer and Keenan Allen both don't play. I'm just joking. But I mean, I don't think you're going to get much of a different outlook from Gallup or Judy if Quentin Johnson is the number 2 wide receiver on that offense and they are forced to feed him targets and forced to let him figure it out, kind of swim with the wolves, so to speak. Then, yeah, I think there is definitely more upside than Gallup or Judy presents singularly.
Yeah. Palmer, if he's active, is obviously better than those guys to me. So I would take that risk. And if Quentin Johnston comes in, he's a big ass guy, man. They get to the red zone, toss it up, he scores a touchdown, it salvages his day, even if he has a shitty day. Like I'm okay. I'm okay waiting on Palmer and using Quentin Johnston. I don't want to start either of those guys personally.
Yeah, same. I mean, there's just no upside to be had with Gallup or Judy this week.
Yeah, Gerald Everett is also a game time decision. So if both of those guys were to miss time, I mean, it would be Keenan Allen and then, aside from Austin Eckler, probably Quentin Johnston. He'd probably get his highest target share and total targets of the season. That being said, is that worth the risk? Maybe. I think Judy might be a decent safe play, but the thing is, you don't know if you need a safe play or if you need a home run hit. And I feel like if you're starting Palmer, you probably want a home run hit. So I begrudgingly will wait on Quentin Johnston, but I think Judy might be when we look back, might be a fine answer.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably give you 5 for 52 and great.
If he gets 5 for 52, that's that in a full PPR. If that's what it was, that's not a half bad week for him,
Yeah. Full PPR with Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle from Triple Hunts, 2 of the more disappointing wide receiver 2 options in all honesty this season, both in their 3rd season, both expected to progress tremendously, kind of have not. I'm going to lean Devontae Smith against the Washington defense rather than Waddle against New England. Although New England's secondary is kind of falling apart right now, just injuries. They're still playing like a solid defense overall. And I will definitely take the upside of Devontae Smith kind of getting it clicking. You're making all of the exact same narrative arguments for Jalen Waddle as far as the low production ceiling that we've had this season. So I think it's Devontae in a much better matchup.
Yeah. I think they're both divisional matchups, and I'd rather bank on the Eagles to produce against the Commanders than I would the Dolphins to produce against New England, just because historically, like someone said earlier about Tua, like New England, has the capability to make Miami look human. And so if I'm going to take the wide receiver too, I'm going to take Devontae Smith here. I'm going to take that shot. And once again, just a disclaimer for everybody. This is another one of those situations where I think both can produce very similarly, and you're just trying to pick the one who scores a little bit more. Like, I think they're both in good spots. I think they're both really good fucking players. So yeah, I don't think it's very easily one or the other, but if I had to pick one, which I have to, I'm going to go Devontae Smith.
Yep, you do have to.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you guys, but you guys both like Devontae Smith, so I won't argue too much. But I do like Jalen Waddle a little more. I think his floor is just slightly better. It is a little scary going against Belichick, no matter how human the Patriots look now. Like you said, they have that capability. I feel like New England might win this game straight up, weirdly enough. But I do slightly like Jalen Waddle just a little bit more.
Yeah, fair.
That's fair. We got him back in with one more triple hunts. I hope you're still sticking around and making these decisions with us, brother. Non-PPR, so we just want the yardage. Warren, Dell, or G. Wilson in the rain against the Giants. Already that yak monster. You give him rain with an even lower depth of target in Tyrod Wilson. I mean, I'm leaning Garrett Wilson kind of pretty heavily, and I know the weather's going to give Tyrod Taylor.
Who are you even talking about at this point, man?
I'm leaning Garrett Wilson with Tyrod Taylor even more.
Zach Wilson is his quarterback.
Yeah, but they're playing Tyrod Taylor.
Okay, I thought you meant. I thought you meant he was catching passes from. I was like, we're so far into crunch time. Matt has lost.
I genuinely think that the Giants are a better offense with Tyrod Taylor. Like, there's going to be more scoring than suggested.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would go Garrett Wilson. There's a case to be made for Tank Dell, but it just seems like a bit more of a volatile situation with the Texans. Some days it's Nico Collins, some days it's Tank Dell. Who knows which one it's going to be today? It could be both. We don't know. But Garrett Wilson, he's going to get his targets. He's been quietly producing. I think he's an interesting buy, honestly, because people are seeing Zach Wilson, not Aaron Rodgers. Garrett Wilson is never going to have a high ceiling, but he's just a baller, and he's been showing that. So, but yeah, I'm going Garrett Wilson nonetheless.
That's where I'm going as well.
Yo, what up?
Yo, B-Vic.
Tua versus New England, Justin Herbert versus Chicago. Oh, this is where it gets really close. I actually have them as 5 and 6 in my QB rankings this week, so I will lean the guy that I have 5, and that is Justin Herbert.
I'm gonna go Tua. And I just think Justin Herbert is off. Justin Herbert has not been on for weeks now. He's had wide open plays back-to-back weeks that he's just not hitting right now. He's the sexy play. He's the guy that everyone thinks is up and coming magic man. And right now the magic hasn't been there for me. And especially if he ends up in this game with Keenan Allen and Dust. I mean, obviously Austin Eckler's there, but Palmer's such a bigger contributor for them than people care to admit, because everyone just says he's mid and all he does is make plays. It's crazy. But if there's a world where him and Everett are out, it's a great matchup. Don't get me wrong, but I'm probably gonna go Tua just because Tua, that team can just light it up at any given moment. And it's just really, really hard for me to bench Tua in that situation. But I get it. So that means the tiebreaker. Don't be wrong.
It's so tough because I think Tua could genuinely throw for like 500 yards here. And like you said, Justin Herbert's been kind of like falling behind. Man, it's tough. I will slightly lean Justin Herbert. but I think it is extremely close, and I wouldn't want to bench either of these guys.
That's fair.
Herbert's my guy.
Yeah. Just put 2 in the flex. Call it a day.
Alejandro in late, but in here as always. Let's have a great day Sunday. Smelling dubs today. So am I. Smells good. Only one for me today. Full PPR, Josh Downs or Ramondre Stevenson. After that, we got Smitty. I hope you're still in here. We got I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Controversial. Oh, that's actually a dope name. And then we got Josh Gonzalez. So I hope you guys are all sticking around. We're going to get to those questions real quick, wrap it up, and then pop off. Full PPR, Josh Downs or Ramondre Stevenson. I'm going Josh Downs. I'm not going to think twice about it. You guys can argue it.
Josh Downs.
I agree.
Yeah, that was a quick one. I'm glad you were in here, Alejandro, for that. But Josh Downs is trending up. Ramondre trending straight. I mean, it's just been consistently it's just been consistently like average, which is like fine, but I really need him to break through. And I still think there's time. And Vic and I have kind of been talking about it a lot with Ramondre specifically. Like all of the hype that we pushed Ramondre's draft capital into this season didn't happen until after week 9 last year. So like there's still lots of time for Ramondre to do what we're expecting. Obviously, we wanted that to continue from last year to, through the first, but yeah, I think it's going to be obviously in that one, Josh Downs for this week. Smitty in here. Hey, fellas, quick one for you. Jacoby or Puka? You know it's going to be quick because even with our love for Jacoby Myers, you're not benching Puka.
You have to start Puka.
Ever.
Yeah.
You're not benching him ever. Just ever.
Yeah.
And then he's healthy. He's in your lineups. And especially in a full PPR format, obviously leaning towards that volume he's getting, even though Jacoby's target ceiling has been incredible. Puka's volume has actually gone up with Kupp in the lineup. Up. He's averaging more targets. It's absurd, man. He is their wide receiver 1 and truly a historic wide receiver as far as rookie production is concerned. Dallas or Chargers defense this week. Obviously, you've got Dallas coming in and playing. Oh, wait, I said obviously, and now I can't remember.
They're playing the Rams.
Rams, thank you. Yeah. And then we've got the Chargers against
the Bears.
The Bears, yep.
Bears.
Yeah, it's just the Chargers defense for me is just mid as fuck. They have moments where they're dominant. I mean, they've got such good playmakers, but I think I'm just gonna run Dallas. The Rams are, I mean, they produce, but it's just that the Cowboys defense just has the ability to pop off on any given Sunday. So I'll just take the better defense.
Same.
I know the Bears are kind of bleh, and they have the backup and all that business, but I just don't trust the Chargers as a franchise. I don't trust their defense to be reliable every single week. So I would run Dallas here, I think. You got Puka and Kupp. I get it, but I just think Dallas has the ability to make plays. So
yeah, Matthew Stafford has actually kind of struggled. I mean, he looks very good, don't get me wrong, but he's throwing picks and stuff while Puka and Cooper Kupp are eating. So
his turnover ratio is not good.
Yeah, so both can exist where Dallas defense goes off and Puka also goes off. I'm looking at how the defenses have done. The Chargers,
which happened last week with the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, it did. They were a very startable fantasy defense.
Yeah, I mean, they were fine. The Chargers, they've had as many negative point games as the Cowboys, but the Cowboys have had 3 games of 20 plus points. It may seem like the Chargers are the more home run capable because of the matchup and the type of quarterback that they're playing, a D2 guy. But man, Dallas, they're just playmakers, man. They got a home run hit every time they they're out there on the field. It's insane. So I would not be benching Dallas, even though I trust in Matthew Stafford a little.
Would you drop Michael Thomas or Josh Palmer for Tank Dell?
I mean,
I would drop Michael Thomas for Tank Dell, not Josh Palmer.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop Josh Palmer.
Josh Palmer's not going anywhere.
I think it's tough because Michael Thomas, like you said, Themi, before, Michael Thomas is producing pretty reliably and nobody gives a shit. But it's kind of you're swinging for the fences on Tank Dell, and it's do you want a floor or do you want a ceiling? And I think Tank Dell has the possibility for a higher ceiling. So if you want to go for a more volatile but higher upside play, then I would pick up Tank Dell. I would drop Michael Thomas. I don't love it.
Tank Dell's also like a better future play because rookie wide receivers tend to like go off in the second half of the season. That's kind of how teams want to use them.
Enough of those like positive analytic thresholds too, like certain target totals and target shares before first 6 games, and obviously has popped off with multiple wide receiver 1 finishes before 6 games. So he's got a lot of those already needed. Like he's crossed this line of progression for that increased second half breakout, right? So yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I think it's the long-term play, and completely agree with Vic. I think it's more of a ceiling swing, and you probably will see similar floors if that second half breakout does come to fruition, right? Where that safety from Michael Thomas will also be in Tank Dell with the higher ceiling. Josh Gonzalez has our last question of the day. He wants us to start 3, aka sit 1, and it is Swift, Robinson, Kenneth Walker, or Jahmyr Gibbs.
Wait. I originally just assumed that was Brian Robinson, but what if it's Bijan Robinson?
Bijan. Oh, Josh, you got to come back in here and give us Bijan, bro. You got to let us know whether it's Brian or Bijan, and how did you get all 4 of those running backs if it's Bijan?
So, are we starting Gibbs and Kenneth Walker for sure? Is that goofy?
Well, yeah, and I mean, we're starting all of them except for Brian Robinson, unless it's Bijan.
Yeah, it's Bijan.
I'm benching Kenneth Walker. That's it. I'm benching Kenneth
Walker
against the Browns. Yeah, I'm benching Kenneth Walker.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing.
I mean, it's still easy, but it's definitely
an insane running back room.
How?
I mean, his wide receivers might be like Trey Palmer and Antonio Brown.
Yeah. That's somehow this guy had like 4 picks in the first 2 rounds of his draft, or made some incredible trades.
It's not that on
running back.
Kenneth Walker was a keeper.
Here we go. Ken Walker was a keeper. All right, that explains it a little bit. But yeah, incredible running back room, man. I think Ken Walker's the guy you have to sit. Just like, I mean, Swift, you can't with what we've seen. Gibbs also can't. You're talking 8 receptions, 65 rushing yards, the entire backfield to himself. Bijan Robinson, he has no headaches. So, I mean, we can't. That's RB10 overall in points per game, even with the headache game. Keep that in mind. He had 0.3 points, has yet to miss a game, got forced into a 0.3 points per game, and is still RB10 in points per game. This kid is the real fucking deal.
Okay.
It is non-PPR, but I actually don't. Does that like change it much? We're looking for yardage.
Bijan Robinson. So
yeah,
there's that. I would sit Bijan Robinson and keep Kenneth Walker in. Is what I would do.
Bijan does have a tough matchup.
If it's standard, then I'm not starting Bijan Robinson in this case.
That's fair. Yeah, you know he's going to knowing that it's standard definitely does change my perspective, because Zach Charbonnet is only going to be a factor in injury situations, change of pace for a couple catches and maybe pass blocking. Kenneth Walker will get all of the rushing production. Bijan Robinson's going to lose rushing production to Tyler Algier, and we're then hoping on all of his receiving work to cover the yardage total that Kenneth Walker is projected to get. Yeah, I think Bijan's my bench here.
I know Gibbs and Bijan are very similar in terms of their pass catching is going to elevate their game, but the thing is, Gibbs is still going to get
yardage total as a receiver will be higher than Bijan.
And he's just going to get probably double the touches just because it's not going to be a committee. It's going to be him. Yeah. So
his receiving totals will be like they're both going to get 65 receiving yards. Or I mean, you would hope for Bijan, but you almost know for Jahmyr.
I'm sorry if Walker shits the bed, because the original thing was these guys telling you to bench Kenneth Walker. I understand it is a shitty matchup. I said it before.
It's not fun. Changed my perspective of that.
Yeah,
like genuinely though. Taking away Bijan's receptions really did change my perception, because it's happened in every single game. I highly doubt it changes this week. Like Tyler Algier is going to get 10 carries, and they might be for 38 yards, but that 38 yards is 38 yards that Bijan isn't getting.
You know, the red zone too, like that's going to be Kenneth Walker's game, and it's probably going to be fucking Tyler Algier's game.
Yeah, Bijan has no rushing touchdowns this year. Like that's insane. You know?
Yeah. No, and you look at the red zone splits, and it's very, very much an Algier show. Like it's what they like. Yeah. It's very reminiscent, in all honesty, like a much higher and better version, even, or depending on how you feel about Algier, I guess maybe a worse version. But it's Small Williams and Small Williams. Yeah. Exactly, it's exactly what it is. It's the same thing. They're utilized the exact same way. Also, I think Arthur Smith saw that last year and was like, "Ooh, me likey,"
Right.
So yeah. And that was the last one from Josh Gonzalez. Much love, much respect. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I really hope you all stuck around to hear your answers. If not, you can DM me real quick. We got 36 minutes before kickoff. I'll help you at PsychWardFF on Twitter. Follow us at BroToFantasy. Go to BroToFantasy.com to check out all of the new content. Patreon.com/BroToFantasy to get in the Discord. Get these answered on the mailbag a little bit before. Give yourself some preemptive time to prepare, and then come back into crunch time when you have like the stress of Sunday kicking in. You know where to find us. It's all love here. Peace out, guys.
See ya.